So before we get into the recap, I thought this was a pretty interesting story. This is not breaking news, but Josh Alexander, the star of the show, he did an interview with Chris Van Vliet. Chris Van Vliet, CVV himself. Dude, that dude has he's interviewed everybody, man. Every top star. He's interviewed The Rock, Stone Cold, just all up and down. He's done a lot of interviews for Impact. Well, he interviewed Josh Alexander this week, and they got into his free agency from earlier this year when he left Impact, and it was like legit that his contract expired, and he actually had an offer on the table from AEW, but he ended up turning them down and said that he wanted to stay with Impact. He actually turned down an offer from AEW, which it doesn't seem like a lot of people are doing these days.
So it's interesting because we talked about this on the show. The first Chicago Dynamite of the year, the one from February, which actually wound up being a pretty noteworthy show in retro, even though the show did terrible ratings. It was the first. It was like the first one that hit the 800,000s this year. That was the show that MJF beat CM Punk, and it was also the final appearance of Brandy Rhodes.
Yeah,
and she came out during Ethan Page's deal and mentioned they only talked to him to get close to Josh. And we did at one of our clickbaity, segments. Remember talking about, we're going to play this up because we didn't think there was anything to it. But because again, that was the last time Brandy was on Dynamite. Her and Cody were literally out the very next week. Mm-hmm. It's interesting because I'm willing to bet that maybe there is something. Mike just texted me that my microphone is not connected, and I have to fix this. Stand by.
I was trying not to interrupt your thing, but
I looked at my camera and I'm like, oh crap, is that better now, Mike?
That's better. Yeah, sorry.
Guess what the video teacher forgot to do? He forgot to plug in his microphone before the show started. As I said, I
was trying to be like a professional and not call you out on it. I sent you a private message.
Oh no, it's too. Oh no, but you bury me in this case. This is burial territory. Bro, I'll be honest with you. I'm having a terrible day today. So this guy is having a day, let me tell you. So I'm sorry.
You're okay. You were talking about Josh Alexander and Brandy Rhodes' last appearance on AEW Dynamite, teasing that they were in negotiations with Josh.
Which apparently was true. They were trying to negotiate, which I didn't think that was real at the time. We were just playing it up. But apparently they really were trying to get, and again, why wouldn't they? Josh Alexander rules. Here's a question. Do you think he took less money to stay with Impact?
So probably like overall, just because Impact works a lot less dates, but there have been rumors out there that Impact has been competing with AEW on per date fees. Like so Andrade, for instance, was the big name that they actually matched AEW's offer per date. But AEW is offering just so many more dates because they run weekly and sometimes twice a week. Mm-hmm. That the total value at the end of the year ended up being quite a bit more. So I think absolutely Impact probably, and I don't think Josh was probably getting that big of an offer from AEW because, he's a big star in Impact, but he wasn't really an established, big time star just yet. So he was probably getting one of those Ethan Page kind of middle tier deals. And I think absolutely Impact probably were able to match that. And then he's like, well, so what? And one of the reasons why he said that he was going to stay in Impact, he goes, he kind of seen what had been happening in AEW, where a lot of people are getting brought in all at once. They get focused on for a couple of weeks, and then they get forgotten about, and then they get brought back, and they get forgotten about again, which is kind of what happens when you stockpile a lot of talent, which is what they have been doing, and WWE has been doing it too. And it's really Impact has really seen the brunt of that, the brunt of them doing that. But he said he saw that and he felt comfortable staying with Impact, and that's why he stayed. And I think he made the right decision.
I think so too.
Yeah. If he's happy with the money he's getting, he absolutely made the right decision. Plus, he gets to control his own. He gets to control his own independent dates. So
yeah, which is always a good thing too. Especially, I think there's a lot more value to Josh Alexander as the Impact World Champion going to independent shows than just Josh Alexander on his own. I think there is. I think his stock has significantly increased this year. I think he gambled on himself, right? And some people are like, oh,
Mhm.
you want to be the biggest, how's that phrase go? The biggest fish in the small pond, or whatever. Like I
Yeah.
think in this case, I think that's a great way to up your stock, is
Mhm.
to prove to be the top dog in a place. And then
Yeah.
should the time come to move on, you can move on. Although I don't see a reason why they wouldn't want to hang out to Josh as long as humanly possible. And same with Josh. I think he's a cornerstone in this promotion now. And I think they kind of need him because, like we talked about, both companies are in a spending freeze. It sounds like we're going to get some type of a rollout of Ring of Honor. And I
Mhm.
think that both company, and Triple H keeps bringing back people that had a cup of coffee in his promotion. So I think that they're going to have to, Impact specifically is going to have to do what they can to try to keep hold of people, including people who shouldn't be pushed. More on that later.
Yeah. Yeah. So they actually did sign somebody new in that announcement came out earlier this week, but we'll talk about that on the Patreon.